The word overwhelmed is now being used synonymously with owning a business, but it doesn't have to be their business owner. I'll share 2 things today that can help you reduce your overwhelm by a good chunk of percentage. And those 2 things are policies and job description for your employees. I'll tell you what to do. Policies, first of all, what are policies? Policies are basically pre-made decisions that you have made already on how things should run in your organization. So what do? You have them written. That's basically that. You made those decisions, you have them written. Without a policy, you end up saying the same things over and over again. If you have 50 employees, you may have to talk to them say the same things 50 times. I remember, and imagine that you have 50 policies or 50 decisions for your employees, and you have to say to 50 employees. You may be talking 250 times in a day. But basically, it's going to make you sound like a broken record if you don't have a policy. So have one, have it detailed, have it cover every nook and cranny, have it cover different scenarios. Let me give an example. You're talking about sick leave, for instance, and then you want to mention that what if the person has gone on sick leave for quite more frequently than required? What happens? Right? Don't just stop at saying every staff is entitled to 7 days of sick leave in a year. Then the additional scenario can be someone has taken the 7 days and is still sick. What happens? So your policy should cover those kind of scenarios. Decision can be after the 7 days, maybe you can still go on leave, but leave without pay. Just an example. And then another kind of covering every scenario could be in a case where it's still on probation. Someone has spent only 1 month or 3 months with your organization. What happens when they want to go on leave? How should that be decided? Or it can be a policy on asking for cash advance. Believe me, some people we've had an employee, the very first week they resume to work, they ask if they can get part of their salary. So it's not an impossible situation. So have a policy on that. Is it supposed to be a no? And because when you have a policy on that, it means that even before it gets to you, your line managers or your fellow employees would have answered on your behalf. Do you imagine the kind of workload it takes from you to have such policies, a lot of such policies? So they are pre-made decisions, resumption time, how you want them to dress, even to the detail of how you want them to wear their hair, right? When I was still an employee, I remember that wearing colored hair was not allowed. But your organization may want to be more liberal. Decide that on your policies ahead of time and let everyone have it as soon as they get into your organization. That will take a lot of stress from you, especially staff-related stress. Then I spoke about job descriptions. I will explain that. Job descriptions is just a document or a write-up that tells them what they have to do. Every role's job description is usually peculiar to that role, meaning that job description for the sales team will be different from job description for the HR, different from job description for the admin staff and any other procurement officer, logistics, and whatever you have in your team. And then I would advise against just downloading from the internet and using it, because your job description has to be relatable, because no 2 organizations are the same anyway. So what works in company A may not be applicable in company B. So your job description has to fit into what is happening within your own organization. Else you still have chaos, despite the fact that you have JDs. Your job description should also, apart from it being relatable, it should also be descriptive, and it's best to have related roles together. We've had organizations where everybody seems to be handling an element of customer service. Everybody seems to be handling an element of, let's say, procurement or accounting. It's best that related tasks are grouped together. So if this task relates to sales, let it just be grouped together. Let it have a peculiar objective, generating income. Then under that generating income, you can now have a breakdown of JDs like writing proposals, taking presentations, calling up old clients and all that. So it just kind of gives it a particular focus and also helps their minds to organize or wrap themselves around what they have to do. Then job description about HR is best for it to also be related to that thing. Now, I understand that you may start out without having a lot of employees to cover all the roles. It's fine for you to have one employee handling, let's say 2 roles in one, let's say, but the more related, the better, right? And then as soon as the organization grows to get someone else to take some part of the organization, or some part of the task from them, maybe, and the staff is now experiencing some form of overwhelm, you just regroup those job descriptions into another 2 sets of closely similar roles. right? Let me give an example. You recruited someone to handle both HR and admin at first, and then the organization is growing, you have more employees, and then this person begins to get overwhelmed by having too much to do. You can then break it into HR and admin. So the HR tasks will come together, the admin tasks will come together, and then that way it keeps splitting into a very organized environment. Structure is an ongoing thing. You cannot be done with structure. With every growth, with every progress, with every shift, structure will have to adjust to fit in. Like I like to relate a business as a living organism. Cells are dividing every day, right? So it's a growing thing, and you don't exactly tell it how to grow. You just kind of coordinate it and ensure that while it's growing in the direction that you want it to go. Thank you for listening.